Tensions flare between Moscow and Tehran. Zarif accuses Russia of keeping Iran isolated and leaking its secrets. Lavrov fires back, blaming Zarif for the nuclear snapback trap. As new UN sanctions loom, Putin and Khamenei trade cryptic messages, allies in arms, but rivals in trust. Former Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif accused Russia of deliberately keeping Iran isolated, saying Moscow has two red lines: preventing Tehran from having normal global relations and avoiding direct confrontation.
Russia supported the Geneva Interim Agreement because it kept the wound open, but prevented conflict.
He also rejected Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's claim that Iran had accepted the 2015 nuclear deal's snapback sanctions clause under US pressure.
Lavrov is lying. The proposal did not come from the Americans. It came from them.
Hardliners have long attacked Zarif over the clause, which last month was invoked by France, Germany and the UK to restore UN sanctions on Iran, despite opposition from Moscow and Beijing. In a leaked 2022 interview, Zarif also accused Russia of actively undermining the 2015 nuclear deal with world powers, claiming Moscow tried to block its finalization. In the interview, Zarif said,
"Russia made every possible effort in the final week to stop the agreement from being concluded."
Zarif also accused Russia this week of exposing sensitive Iranian military and diplomatic activities, including General Qassem Soleimani's visit to Moscow and Iran's drone supplies to Russia for the war in Ukraine.
They were the ones who made those public.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, however, maintains that Moscow always supported the nuclear deal and the UN Security Council resolution endorsing it, insisting that the final decision on the JCPOA was made directly by Zarif and Kerry, with other participants, including Russia, serving only as observers. The deal itself has a fraught history. The United States withdrew in 2018 under President Donald Trump. Following Washington's exit, Iran gradually reduced its compliance and, by 2019, began enriching uranium to higher levels. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday directly blamed former Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif for the inclusion of the snapback mechanism in the 2015 nuclear deal, calling it a legal trap set during the final stages of negotiations. Speaking to Arab reporters in Moscow, Lavrov said the final JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, decisions were made by Zarif and then US Secretary of State John Kerry, with other participants mostly acting as observers.
To be honest, we were surprised. But if our Iranian partners accepted this formulation, which frankly was a legal trap, we had no grounds to object. I can understand why Zarif supported such an unconventional formula.
Lavrov's remarks came after Zarif had criticized Russia for undermining efforts to renew the deal under former President Hassan Rouhani. In a 2021 interview, Zarif said Russia had tried to stop the JCPOA in its final weeks. Although Lavrov acknowledged working closely with Zarif during the negotiations, his statements carried implicit criticism, noting that Iran did not breach the deal, yet the US withdrew and Europe failed to meet commitments.
Since you mentioned Zarif, this creation was largely his, Lavrov said.
The comments highlight tensions between Moscow and Tehran, despite ongoing military cooperation. Lavrov emphasized that Russian support, including the supply of military equipment, is carried out within international law, without clarifying sensitive details like potential S-400 sales. Russia said on October 17th that it is prepared to help resolve the deadlock over Iran's nuclear program, following remarks by President Vladimir Putin that Moscow has been receiving messages from both Israel and Iran. Russian Foreign Ministry in a statement said,
Moscow remains firmly committed to a political and diplomatic settlement on the Iranian nuclear program and calls on all parties to focus on solutions to avoid uncontrolled escalation. We are ready to assist in this endeavor in any way possible.
The statement came ahead of the expiration of UN Security Council Resolution 2231, which endorsed the 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA. Last month, France, Germany and the UK triggered the deal's snapback mechanism to reimpose UN sanctions, which Tehran rejects, denying any nuclear weapons ambitions. Russia called the sanctions legally null and void and said Iran's nuclear program should now be treated like any other non-nuclear weapon state under the NPT. Moscow also criticized Western powers for rejecting a joint Russian-Chinese proposal to extend technical aspects of the deal, accusing them of relying on illegal methods and brute force. The provision allows any JCPOA signatory, including the 5 permanent UN Security Council members plus Germany, to reimpose UN sanctions without a veto. Meanwhile, Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei sent a message to Russian President Vladimir Putin, a week after Putin said Israel had requested Moscow to convey its desire to avoid confrontation with Tehran. The contents of Khamenei's message were not disclosed, and it was unclear if it directly responded to the Israeli overture. Chief of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, said that he delivered the message during a meeting with Putin in Moscow. According to Larijani's Telegram account, the two discussed bilateral issues as well as economic, regional, and international cooperation between Tehran and Moscow. Putin, speaking from Tajikistan last week, said Israel had asked Russia to relay its peaceful intentions.
We continue our trusted contacts with Israel, asking us to convey to our Iranian friends that Israel is focused on further settlement and is not interested in any form of confrontation.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirmed Russia's shuttle diplomacy, noting that Netanyahu's message, delivered via Moscow, assured Iran that Israel seeks no war. In sum, the relationship between Tehran and Moscow remains a complex mix of cooperation and caution. While Russia continues to supply military support and offers to mediate on Iran's nuclear program, tensions over past negotiations and differing strategic agendas persist. Zarif's accusations and Lavrov's counterclaims highlight a lingering mistrust, even as Iran engages with Moscow to counter Western pressure and Israel's overtures. Amid renewed UN sanctions and the ongoing regional stakes, Iran and Russia navigate a delicate balance between mutual interests, diplomatic maneuvering, and the risk of isolation on the international stage.